What's going on, guys? My name is Tim Roswick, and today we're talking about designing for emotional reactions. So, in my own life, I've tried to stay away from being emotionally reactive as a person. But one of the things I enjoy about mediums like art or music or movies or anything like that is that ability to kind of pull me out of whatever state I'm in and put me in a different mood. So, talked about this a few times, but I like to go see movies in theaters alone a lot. Um, if this wasn't crunch time for Photophobia, on an average week, I might go once a week, once or twice a week, maybe, see movies in a theater alone, just because I like to. I like to go on like a late Tuesday or something, early Tuesday sometimes. Some day of the week where nobody's gonna be there. I like to sit in the theater and I like to just like watch the movie. And I like this because it allows me to experience what the movie has to offer. It allows me to maybe have the emotional reactions that scenes are set up to build. So any movie is trying to get an emotional reaction out of you at certain parts. That's what the music, the theme, the colorization, all that stuff is used for like mood, and that mood is designed around getting you to enact an emotion. So on action scenes, they have that heavy pounding music like that's really quick and gets your blood pumping and you're ready for the dude to shoot everybody. And then on really sad scenes, you get like the violin going and like it's really sad. Um, and those are all designed around emotions. So movies, like any kind of art form, really, not just movies, they're designed around emotional reactions. And so if you look at like a painting, same thing. Like the artists had something in mind when they made it, and it's made to kind of invoke that same sense. Maybe the artist made it because it was something that was deep inside of them. They want to share with others. Whatever. Games are kind of the same thing. Um, it's a lot of people don't really see games as art. Games are definitely art. I think we've had this discussion before. I don't know if I made a video because I made too many damn videos at this point. I don't know if I made a video on it, but games are definitely art. And that being said, they're going to elicit emotional responses whether you design them or not. So I think it's best to kind of take control of that emotional response and really hone it in and design it. Because if you don't, the emotional response that they get out of the game might be frustration, or it might be something other that's maybe negative to the experience. And so you really want to take reins and kind of control it. And the way that you do this is really thinking about the emotion that you want to convey. I happen to be lucky because in Photophobia, the game is based around the 5 stages of grief. And so each of the like worlds, as it were, is designed around like denial, then anger, then bargaining, then depression. So I kind of have that built into the game, even though denial isn't really emotion per se. But it's something that I'm designing all the mechanics around for that specific word. Same thing with anger. I know when you go from into the anger levels, everything immediately is like red. It's red everywhere. The everything is quicker. The background has like these lightning flashes that are really quick. There are enemies that are designed to chase you at full speed. There are modifiers that make you faster, and so on and so forth. So everything's really designed around that emotion, and as a result, the emotional response that comes out of the player is along the lines of those, the emotion that I'm designing. So I take it a step further because it's not just red and fast, right? Anger also has um, some negative qualities. So some of the levels are designed to fuck the player over. Like they're designed to like kill you when you least expect it, or have shit pop out at you, or maybe the boss comes in and just messes up your day after doing a really hard part of the level. I design those in specifically stuff that otherwise maybe would be considered bad game design, right? Like you don't just want some dude to come in and kill you that you can't escape automatically. But when you're in hell and it's based around the emotion of anger and this dude is the demon of anger, it might make sense thematically, right? Because it's like really angry. It's supposed to elicit that anger response. And so when you think about things, designing things emotionally rather than like technically, I think that the way you start doing things might change it up a bit. And obviously this is something you have to kind of adapt after you've learned the basic rules of game design. I don't want to say you should just completely abandon all game design rules ever. But designing around emotion definitely kind of can be your guide and kind of keep you on track for what you want to do. So if you've got a game, maybe start with an emotion. Like, what do you want the player to feel, right? Is it angry? Is it sad? Is it like fast paced, slow paced? Like, what? Think about like all of the different elements of what you're trying to create, the experience that you're trying to create. I know, for example, there's a game called Out There, which I love. It's similar to, it's not really similar to FTL, but it's the same kind of roguelike in space, and it does a fantastic job of really allowing you to feel like loneliness. Like you're out there in the middle of space all alone, and you encounter aliens and creatures, but they don't really speak your language. You got to kind of learn their language. You got to go from planet to planet, collect resources, and so on and so forth. But it does a really good job of just like, you're alone. You're all alone in the stars. And that always stuck with me because that game has some RNG issues. It'll randomly like throw you off into the middle of nowhere and fuck you over even on a good run. But it's really good at that emotional design. That's what kept me playing for a long time. Matter of fact, my next game, Black Rim, which I have a prototype for, is kind of based off of that same gameplay style because I loved how that game made me feel. And if your game can make someone feel a certain way, doesn't matter if it's positive or negative, if it's intentional emotional design, I think it's worth putting out there because there are always people looking for every type of emotion. Like, a lot of people play games based on that too, whether it's consciously or subconsciously. If you think of music, right? Like if you're super depressed, if you're super sad, what do most people do? They'll put on Taylor Swift. They'll start singing, they'll listen to sad music, right? Because they want something that expresses that emotion. I think the same thing happens with games. People tend to gravitate towards games that, you know, have the emotion that they want to feel. Survival games are really popular right now. I think that's something that people want to experience that they maybe otherwise haven't experienced. Like in survival, things that otherwise would not be very important in our world, like water and food and, you know, staying warm and not worried about people trying to kill you. Things that we take for granted might, you know, not be taken for granted in a survival world. So that genre is pretty popular too. And I think if you really design around the emotion, really make something that, you know, doesn't compromise on how it makes you feel, I think, sure, the game mechanics and all that are still important, but I think that emotion, if you really hit that emotion on the head with the art style, with the sound, with the music, with the gameplay, with all that, if you wrap all that into an emotion and you really think about how it's going to come across, I think you're going to make a great game. It'd be hard not to at that point. So that's all I got for you today. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please hit that like and comment button. Let me know your thoughts. You know any games that do really good emotional design? Is this something you implemented in some of your games before? Let me know in the comments below. But once again, my name is Tim Roswick, and I will see you again tomorrow.